There are moments in sports when the game stops, not because of injury, not because of weather, but because someone does something so wild, so unexpected, so flat-out bizarre that the entire arena, or in this case, the entire golf course, freezes. And that's exactly what happened at Caitlin Clark's Celebrity Pro-Am. A day that was supposed to be chill, relaxed, fun, a charity event, a little competition, and a whole lot of cameras capturing Caitlin Clark showing she's just as comfortable swinging a golf club as she is dropping logo threes.
Sophie Cunningham may have had a weirdo. I don't want to go so far as to call the guy a stalker, but it sounds very stalker-ish if what is being said here is actually true. But a guy had to be removed yesterday from the Annika Golfing Pro-Am that featured Caitlin Clark playing in the actual Pro-Am and the celebrity.
But then he showed up. A man storms up near the ropes, frantic, waving his arms, demanding loudly to see none other than Phoenix Mercury fan favorite Sophie Cunningham. And before anyone realizes what's happening, the energy shifts from lighthearted Pro-Am vibes to, hold up, we might need security right now. Spectators look around confused. Caitlin Clark pauses mid-round. Volunteers step in, trying to calm the situation. But the guy keeps going, shouting Sophie's name like she's supposed to magically appear from behind the putting green, and that's when the police got involved.
And claiming to be the boyfriend of WNBA star Sophie Cunningham was escorted off the grounds of the Pelican Golf Club during Caitlin Clark's Pro-Am round after apparently being the victim of a scam. This is interesting. Okay. According to the Daily Mail, Cunningham, who was among the celebrity caddies for the her Indiana Fever teammate, was walking the 10th fairway.
They had no choice. The man wasn't stopping, wasn't calming down, and wasn't listening to staff. In a matter of seconds, the officers moved in, assessed the threat, and escorted him away, leaving everyone stunned and asking the same thing. Why was this dude so desperate to see Sophie Cunningham at Caitlin Clark's event? And more importantly, how did this random outburst end up overshadowing one of the most covered Pro-Am appearances of the summer? This is the kind of moment that reminds you why the WNBA ecosystem is unlike anything else in sports.
2 members of the Bel Air Police Department were assigned to the group for security. One stopped the man, demanding to see his driver's license and taking a photo to identify him. Although he complied, he told the officer it was not necessary because he was Cunningham's boyfriend. Nah, I'm with Sophie. Nothing to see here. Please move along, please, officer. God almighty. Bunch of freaks.
The personalities, the fandom, the chaos, the drama, it never stops. And here on Her Hoops, we're breaking all of it down. The incident, the reaction, and the ripple effects that no one is talking about. Because trust me, this wasn't just a weird interruption. It was a spotlight on something much bigger. This is the story of the Pro-Am interruption that had the police stepping in and the entire sports world scratching their heads. To understand why this moment hit so hard, why it instantly ignited social media and sent reporters scrambling for details.
I mean, it's sad because he's 70 and they're scamming the old fella. I mean, that's jacked up. He actually believed that. Yesterday was a bad day for him. My God. The man continued to ask if he could talk to Cunningham, believing she could verify his story. Wow. A sheriff's golf cart then arrived and he was escorted off the course.
You have to understand the world Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham operate in, because this wasn't just some random golf event. This was a collision of 2 of the WNBA's most explosive fan bases and 2 of the league's most polarizing personalities. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom whose every move is tracked like she's the face of a global empire, doesn't just show up to a Pro-Am. She takes over the Pro-Am. Cameras follow her like she's the main attraction, which, let's be real, she is.
Drew a large gallery of fans during her appearance in the Pro-Am, one day before the start of the Annika, driven by Gamebridge. Clark is a Gamebridge ambassador. Prior to the man being escorted off the course, the caddies each hit a drive and Cunningham's hit a man in the gallery. We watched that yesterday. Go check out that video. Cunningham buried her head in Clark's shoulder in embarrassment, before Clark pointed in the direction of the crowd and told her she hit a spectator.
Even at a golf course, the crowd is 5 people deep just trying to watch her swing a club. Every shot she takes goes viral. Every smile becomes a headline. Every appearance becomes a media event. And then there's Sophie Cunningham, the fiery, unapologetic, I'll talk trash to your face and laugh while doing it enforcer of the Phoenix Mercury. Sophie has carved out an entire identity as one of the league's most magnetic personalities. A mix of toughness, confidence, and that signature Sophie swagger that makes her impossible to ignore. Their fan bases? Loud, passionate, sometimes chaotic. Sophie fans treat her like a cult icon. Caitlin Clark fans treat her like a generational prodigy. Both have grown massive followings, and not just within the WNBA. We're talking TikTok, Instagram, sports Twitter, college hoops alumni, casual fans, and yes, the occasional superfan who might take things a little too far. So when word got out that Caitlin Clark was appearing at a high-profile pro-am, the expectation was simple: crowds, noise, attention, and the usual swarm of fans trying to get a photo or signature. But nobody expected someone to show up demanding to see Sophie Cunningham at an event where she wasn't even listed, announced, or rumored to appear. And that disconnect, that confusion, was the spark that ignited this entire incident. Because when you mix 2 high-energy fan bases with a setting as calm and quiet as a golf course, all it takes is one unexpected voice to break the silence and turn an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. Now let's break down exactly how this went from fun pro-am afternoon to police stepping in before things escalate. Because the details matter, and the sequence of events tells you everything about how fast this situation spiraled. Caitlin Clark was mid-round, walking up the fairway with her group, doing the usual, chatting, smiling, giving fans a little wave when she had the chance. Standard Caitlin Clark pro-am energy, smooth, relaxed, and honestly, a nice break from the pressure cooker of the WNBA season. Then the shouting starts. At first, people thought it was just a loud fan calling Caitlin's name. That happens constantly, nothing unusual. But the tone was off. It wasn't excitement. It was agitation, urgency, and it wasn't Caitlin's name being yelled. It was Sophie Cunningham. Over and over. Witnesses said the man wasn't just calling out. He was pacing, pointing, demanding that someone bring Sophie out right now. Volunteers approached him, thinking maybe he was confused. Maybe he thought Sophie was part of the event. Maybe he was just trying to get the attention of someone farther down the course. But the second they tried to talk to him, things escalated. The man snapped. His voice got louder, his movements got sharper. He wasn't listening to reason, instructions, or the people clearly trying to help. Caitlin's group paused. Security radioed for backup. Spectators backed away from the ropes. This wasn't a normal fan moment anymore. This was disruption. This was unpredictable energy. This was someone who needed to be moved, fast. That's when the police stepped in. Officers approached calmly but assertively, engaging the man from a safe distance. It was clear they had dealt with this kind of situation before. The body language, the spacing, the verbal commands. The man kept insisting he needed to see Sophie, but by this point, the officers had already decided. They had to remove him. In seconds, they escorted him away from the ropes, guiding him off the course while staff and fans watched in disbelief. The incident ended safely. No injuries, no physical confrontation. But the message was loud and clear. This wasn't a fan interaction. This wasn't harmless excitement. This was a disruption that threatened the entire flow of the event. And Caitlin Clark? She watched the whole thing go down. Here's where things get interesting. Because the aftermath of the interruption didn't just fade into the background like some awkward moment everyone tries to pretend didn't happen. No, it did the exact opposite. It escalated online, in the media, and across the WNBA fan landscape within minutes. As soon as the man was escorted off the course, phones came out. Clips started circulating. People were whispering, speculating, and doing what fans do best, connecting dots that probably shouldn't be connected, but make for some absolutely wild theories. First came the Caitlin Clark angle. Why would someone show up at her pro-am asking for someone else? Was he trying to get Caitlin's attention by using Sophie's name? Was this a targeted stunt? Then came the Sophie Cunningham angle. Was she supposed to be there secretly? Did someone lie and tell this man Sophie was appearing? Is he a superfan who followed the wrong event? And then the big one, the narrative tension nobody saw coming. People started comparing this moment to how the media treats disruptions involving Caitlin Clark versus disruptions involving other WNBA players. Because here's the truth, any incident involving Caitlin will instantly go viral, instantly turn into a debate, instantly get turned into content, even if the incident had nothing to do with her besides proximity. Fans pointed this out immediately. If this had happened to a mid-tier player, probably wouldn't trend. If it happened at a smaller event, wouldn't have made headlines. But because Caitlin Clark was within 50 feet of the situation, the story became 10 times bigger. And Sophie fans felt some type of way about that. They defended her. They joked about the chaos. They insisted she had nothing to do with it. But they also saw an opportunity. Sophie suddenly became part of a viral moment without even being in the same state. The incident wasn't just an interruption anymore. It became a symbol, a talking point about the way fame, attention, and narrative collide within the WNBA ecosystem. Even players chimed in indirectly. Memes popped up. Fan wars reignited. Podcasters circled the moment like sharks. A random man yelling on a golf course became a cultural flashpoint. And the craziest part? The biggest tension, the part nobody wanted to admit, was that this incident exposed how fragile the balance really is when Caitlin Clark's spotlight collides with the WNBA's growing personalities. This wasn't just escalation, it was ignition. To really understand why this moment exploded the way it did, you have to zoom out, not to the media, not to social reactions, but to the deeper dynamics shaping today's WNBA landscape. Because this incident wasn't just weird, it revealed something real about where the league is culturally, emotionally, and competitively. Let's start with Caitlin Clark. She is the biggest spotlight in women's sports right now, and that spotlight doesn't stay contained. It spills onto every court she steps on, every arena tunnel she walks through, and apparently, even every golf course fairway she touches. Caitlin isn't just a player, she's a phenomenon. And phenomena attract everything: supporters, skeptics, superfans, haters, clout chasers, and yes, the occasional unstable voice in the crowd. So when you place that level of attention in a calm environment like a pro-am, the contrast becomes sharp. The silence of the course made the shouting 10 times louder. The chill vibe of the event made the outburst feel 10 times more chaotic. And the presence of Caitlin Clark made the incident feel 10 times more urgent. Then there's Sophie Cunningham. Sophie has a completely different gravitational pull. She's not the global superstar with millions of followers. She's not the media's go-to headline. She's not the player who breaks attendance records, but she is something just as powerful. She's a cult figure, the kind of player whose charisma, attitude, and authenticity create fiercely loyal fans, the kind who will ride for her, defend her, and hype her up with unmatched intensity. Sophie's fan base may be smaller than Caitlin's, but it's loud, emotionally invested, and extremely online. That matters because the man at the Pro-Am wasn't yelling for Caitlin Clark. He wasn't yelling to meet the biggest name in women's sports. He was yelling for Sophie, a player who wasn't even there. That's not randomness, that's fixation. And fixation is where things get complicated. Because now the WNBA has multiple players who pull fans with different energies, different passions, different attachments, different emotional triggers. And when these energies overlap in unexpected places, you get moments like this. Moments that expose the league's growing pains. Moments that reveal the unpredictable side of rising fame. Moments that remind us that attention, good or bad, travels in wild directions. The Pro-Am incident wasn't really about Caitlin or Sophie. It was about what happens when a rapidly expanding league produces stars with totally different types of gravity. And those gravitational fields collide in public. Now let's talk about what this incident really means, not just for Caitlin Clark, not just for Sophie Cunningham, but for the WNBA's entire cultural landscape. Because moments like this aren't isolated. They're symptoms of a league experiencing explosive and sometimes uncomfortable growth. First, the obvious. The WNBA has never had this level of attention. Not this intensity. Not this emotional investment. Not this kind of celebrity chaos crossover energy. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring fans, she brought noise. She brought debates. She brought polarization. She brought a level of visibility that shines everywhere, even in moments that have nothing to do with her performance on the court. And with visibility comes unpredictability. The Pro-Am interruption proves something simple but profound. WNBA fandom has entered its superstar era. The era where individual players carry the kind of gravitational pull that attracts superfans, sometimes stable, sometimes unhinged. The era where players become icons whose presence or absence can trigger emotional reactions from strangers in public spaces. The era where even a harmless charity golf event can turn into a viral moment because a fan expected to see his favorite player. For years, people said the WNBA needed stars. Well, now it has them, and stars come with complications. Sophie Cunningham's unexpected cameo in this situation, without physically being there, shows how players outside the top spotlight are beginning to build intense, ride-or-die followings. That's not a problem. That's a sign of a maturing league. But it also means fan behavior is becoming more unpredictable, more emotional, more intense, just like the NBA, just like the NFL, just like any league with major cultural pull. And Caitlin Clark's presence amplifies everything, even when she's not the target of the moment. For the WNBA, this is both a blessing and a warning. A blessing because it proves the league has real stars with real cultural impact. A warning because with bigger fandoms come bigger risks, including disruptions like the one at the Pro-Am. This incident wasn't about danger. It wasn't about security failure. It wasn't about anyone doing anything malicious. It was about the moment the WNBA officially entered the era of unpredictable superstar attention. The moment fans proved they aren't just watching, they're invested, emotional, and sometimes chaotic. And every player in the league is now living in that new reality. At the end of the day, what happened at that Pro-Am wasn't just a weird footnote in Caitlin Clark's off-season schedule. It wasn't just some random man yelling the wrong player's name at the wrong event. It wasn't even just a moment where police calmly stepped in to keep things under control. No, it was something bigger. It was a snapshot of where the WNBA is right now, and where it's headed. Because think about this, we are at a point where any appearance Caitlin Clark makes, even at a golf course, becomes a cultural moment, a flashpoint, a magnet for attention. And that level of star power doesn't just follow her, it reshapes the space around her. It pulls fans in. It creates ripple effects. And Sophie Cunningham? The fact that someone showed up demanding to see her, uninvited, unannounced, and completely out of context, says everything you need to know about how the league's personalities are expanding in ways that aren't always predictable. Sophie has reached that rare tier of cult icon fame where her presence is expected, even when it makes no logical sense. This was the moment the WNBA's rising energy, the passion, the fandom, the chaos, the intensity, spilled completely outside the basketball world and landed in the middle of a quiet, grassy fairway. A moment that showed us the league isn't just growing, it's transitioning. Transitioning into a league where the stars don't just play games, they carry storylines. Where fans don't just watch, they attach themselves emotionally. Where moments don't just happen, they go viral. The Pro-Am interruption was unexpected, sure, but in a strange way, it was inevitable. You can't have the most influential rookie in decades and one of the league's most charismatic, fan-favorite veterans existing in the same cultural orbit without moments like this popping up. This is what growth looks like. This is what fame looks like. This is what the next era of the WNBA is going to feel like. Loud, passionate, unpredictable, and sometimes completely absurd. And honestly, that's what makes it exciting. Because if this is what happens at a golf event, imagine what the future holds when these players keep elevating, their fan bases keep expanding, and the spotlight gets even brighter. The WNBA wasn't built for quiet. It wasn't built for calm. It was built for moments, dramatic, chaotic, unforgettable moments just like this one. And here on Her Hoops, we'll be here for every twist, every storyline, every shock, and every viral eruption this league throws our way. If you're ready for more breakdowns, more drama, and more behind-the-scenes stories from the world of women's basketball, make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed, because this is just the beginning, and trust me, the next moment is already on the horizon.